full complement of Carabao and European action last night. It was a good evening, wasn't it, Jim?
Absolutely stuffed with fixtures.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of them which went in the way you would have thought. But fun was had along the way anyway, so I think we're going to be all right.
I think in many ways there's a lot of sort of slightly misfiring Premier League teams just learning again where the net is and just having a good load of fun with it.
And if that isn't the romance of what a competition is all about, then I don't know what is.
I know, right? Just reminding
Would you like Port Vale, Huddersfield, Bradford, would you like to be involved in a lovely little tune-up for some Premier League teams who've already stolen all of your lunch over and over again for the last 30 years.
30 years, yeah. I mean, in many ways, we'll comment on the Newcastle-Bradford match, but for me, that was very much so that's where Max Power ended up. Derby game, I suppose. Well, we will start with Port Vale 0, Arsenal 2. Ebrahim Eze scored his first Arsenal goal in a 2-0 win away at Port Vale. It's slightly heavy weather, but good to see Eze get off the mark, Jim.
Yeah, very much so. And it was a very opportunistic finish as well, actually. I think it that space opened up by accident, and it was his quick thinking that allowed him to essentially just get a sort of finessed tap in there, and he was lively again. He played centrally. It was a very interesting lineup, actually. The impression was that Gabriel Martinelli was going to start centrally. I think it was actually Mikel Merino again, and there were times where Ethan Nwaneri was up front in the second half. It looked like Miles Lewis-Skelly was a right back for a little while. There was a lot of kind of weird kind of positional interchange, which was interesting. It still hasn't really clicked in attack this season, generally, I would say. Obviously, the Leeds and Nottingham Forest games aside. And there was more evidence of that, really. Arsenal were very dominant. I think they only had 3 shots on target in the whole game. And Port Vale, I was very impressed with, actually. They were pretty good in possession when they did have the ball. They're very organised. They essentially created the sense of a break, kind of on the counter-attack. It didn't really quite come to fruition. And it was fairly routine, but it was also quite... It was just quite kind of functional and fairly drab, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing for me in the opening goal was whether or not Skelly got a touch on that, because it was a lovely sort of almost dummy, almost pass, and I really wanted him to get the assist. Yeah,
I think he might have got a slight touch on it. In the commentary, they said that he'd been given the assist, so I believe that's the case. But it's sort of... It's a funny one, isn't it? Because it looked like he kind of changed his mind halfway through it happening. It looked like it didn't quite actually touch him, and I think that was what perhaps like foxed the Port Vale defence a little bit. So yeah, but that was fun, lovely little moment. Apparently, this is a derby between the two clubs, the only 2 clubs in England who aren't named after a place as well. I didn't realise Port Vale wasn't a place, because it sounds like a place, doesn't it? But apparently not.
Oh, that's very interesting. I'm trying to think of any others, Luke. Can you think of any who are even approaching fantastic names?
I'm not that bothered.
It's been depressing.
I want to say that there's absolutely no way that Miles Lewis-Skelly meant to bat/not backheel that ball to Eze. He was trying to do it back to Martinelli, wasn't he? And that's like a pretty... I think it's kind of a pretty regular, kind of intricate move that you see teams...
and he just didn't manage to touch it hard enough.
He just missed it, and it just bamboozled the defence. I'm not taking anything away from the goal. I mean, it's a great finish and stuff.
The
but
effect
I don't
was
think he
the
meant
boozle was bammed.
Yeah, right. I don't know why Port Vale are called Port Vale even. Not really sure, but I do know they got promoted last season, and so maybe some of the stuff you saw, Jim, that they were kind of impressed you was because they, under Darren Moore, they've been pretty good. Came second last year in League 2, and are now kind of fighting their way to try and survive in League 1. They bounced back up to League 1 at the first time asking. But look, as you guys have both said, what do you want out of this if you're Arsenal? Well, what you want out of it is to not have a Grimsby situation, to not have pressure put on you for a completely needless result, particularly away from home when you know that everyone's going to turn up. There's a lot of fans at Port Vale. I think there's like double their average attendance there.
Yeah, they were really loud as well.
Loud, Craig. You expect that, wouldn't you? And you want to get the job done, and they did that. So I mean, that's really all you can ask for. Over 80% possession for Arsenal, which is a very high number.
Yeah. I think a lot of sort of Premier League sides that have got gigantic squads compared to obviously teams like Port Vale, they do use these kind of earlier rounds as kind of rehabilitation kind of opportunities and introducing players you don't normally see. Bukayo Saka obviously captained Arsenal on his return to the side. He played 63 minutes and he was kind of back to his. They were winning at a canter. Obviously, it took a long time to get the second goal in there, but I thought Saka looked pretty good, Luke.
I think it's just impossible to say, right? I mean, what are you looking for? He's looking. You summed it up yourself. Like he's looking for a tune-up, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's looking to get some more minutes under his belt in a competitive environment where the other team really want to win and they're playing for their livelihoods and all that kind of cliched stuff.
Harder than playing West Ham, you would suggest at this time.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And I was interested in the introduction of Devante Cole, who started the season pretty quick. For Port Vale, but couldn't get on the score sheet. I think he would have absolutely loved a goal for sure. But it's just business. It's just business. Well done by Arsenal. They dodged a banana skin that was very unlikely to manifest itself anyway.
Yeah.
And that's that.
What you are hoping for in a game like that, I suppose, is a bit more of a kind of silky, dominant performance. You know, when you're
a Brighton against Barnsley type.
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. When you're playing a team who are so far away from you in terms of league position. But that's not always what you get, is it? Their fitness levels were impressive. They were very well organised. They defended very well in blocks, and sometimes you just got to get the job done.
Against those sides for the first 60 minutes, it is night and day. If you sort of watch that same fixture, say 15 years ago, just the level of fitness is just completely different.
It is really different now.
Yeah. Bukayo Saka was, of course, replaced by 15-year-old Max Dowman. Before the game, Mikel Arteta was asked if Dowman would be involved, and he said, "It depends. I might put the handbrake on. Do not touch 15-year-old handbrakes, Arteta. That's not the done thing."
It's a safeguarding issue. It is clearly a safeguarding issue. He absolutely should have his actual handbrake on because he's not old enough to drive either. So if he's got a car. Yeah. He can't be driving it. I mean,
hey, when I was first learning to drive, I spent most of my time with the handbrake on because I didn't really.
That was about 3 years ago, wasn't it?
That's why my car's buggered.
I was going to say the thing with Max Dowman is really interesting because his age is it's a preposterous age.
Yeah,
what makes
it even Min Dowman?
Yeah, is if you look at some of the quality he shows, he's not making up the numbers, right?
No.
The reason he's not playing more often is clearly because he hasn't grown into being a man yet, and because of these other practical and physical limitations. It's not to do with his ability. At one point, he put an amazing ball around the corner to Gyökeres, who should have done much better.
It's an incredible ball.
Yeah, and the vision of that, and the quality to be able to execute it. I just thought when I saw it, what is like vision as for a forward-minded, like attacking player. I would say a lot of it probably comes from experience, right? A lot of it comes from seeing these runs being made, it becoming second nature, knowing what a striker's going to do, building up an understanding. You're making that kind of pass at 15 years old. It is remarkable, and Arteta is going to have to do really well to look after him because there's no hurry. There should be absolutely no hurry. And Jim, you made a good point a week or two ago about, I think it was a game that Arsenal was struggling in.
And Anfield he came on.
That's right, and it was a ridiculous thing to do. It was a ridiculous time to throw him in. It was like
it was.
There's nothing good's going to come at this. You're going to put him under a credible amount of pressure. You're going to ask him to do something, and we know you've got a great squad. Like we know that you don't have to do that. And fine, there's a kind of little bit of feeling that you perhaps want to give him an understanding of what it feels like to play in a big game. But I don't think you need to do it in that situation yet. And so this kind of game is exactly the kind of time you'd expect him to be picking up minutes. And again, he looked really good. And the biggest issue is going to be, which probably won't happen, but if it does get to the point where Arsenal start to struggle or they need some inspiration from somewhere, because we can go into a bit of detail if we want, maybe another time, about why Man City, for example, was so happy for Arsenal to have the ball. Maybe if Arsenal do need a bit of inspiration, there's going to be a clamour for him because he's so exciting and because he's so young and so impressive. And they're going to have to guard against that. It probably won't come to pass because Arsenal are probably having a good season. But anyway, that's just a few of my assembled thoughts on the 15-year-old lad.
It's another safeguarding issue, is what we're saying there. Yeah, I think he was. I think he was training with the under-21s again recently. So I think there is a sense that he's had a little taste of the biscuit to perhaps see what it's like, and maybe he's being managed slightly more sensibly now. I think he would always have played in this game to some degree, it being a Carabao Cup fixture. in the early rounds. But yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
Lovely. Well, Arsenal will be hosting free scoring Brighton in the fourth round. Elsewhere, Huddersfield Town 0, Man City 2, Manchester City comfortably beating Huddersfield Town 2-0 to progress to the fourth round of the Carabao Cup. I mean, it was 80th minute Ford and then Savinho in the 74th. Big gaps between the two goals, just like the Arsenal match, has to be said. But James Trafford did keep a clean sheet, Luke.
And that's why he went there. That's why he went there. He's so happy with that.
Away against Huddersfield.
He's really happy with that. Yeah, I'll come back. Great.
Yeah, fine.
What?
Yeah.
3 Premier League games, you say? Oh, really? All right.
Okay, fine, yeah.
I suppose there's an international break soon. I guess I'll get a call up for that.
I'll be the cup keeper though, yeah?
Yeah.
Just the Carabao, you're saying? Okay.
Give me someone at Carabao. To be fair though, Jim, what better energy drink can you think of to be inspired by?
None, really.
Yeah.
I'm not the one on this call to ask. I'm not the energy drink expert here.
It's a good point, actually, yeah. What is your kind of, a drink that's going to give you pep in your step? What do you sort of go for? Are you a yerba man?
Coffee for me.
Right, okay, interesting, right.
I mean,
I'm a grown man.
I feel like, you get every other generation or so, there's like health scares and people are like, oh, we didn't know that product did that. Yeah. It could be like asbestos.
It's bright green.
Or smoking or, whatever. I think energy drinks are going to have their day in court at some point.
Well, people seem to sort of drink them they'll drink 5 a day, and you're like, that's about 15 coffees. Don't worry about it. Do you see the guy who'd basically made a computer that would help him drink his Monster original diet white automatically? He basically had a can in his hand, and he had like electrical kind of sort of tendrils coming out of his muscles, and a computer would basically just open the can at the top and then contract the muscles, so it basically slammed the can into his face.
Fucking hell.
Just good stuff, man. Just good stuff.
Got anything on that?
To me, your arm already does that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no need to further automate that.
And you should have more energy to do it if you're drinking Monster Energy drink.
That's a good point,
Jim,
actually.
I'm deeply concerned that what Pete's just described simply didn't happen.
I feel like, when people make an accusation that's actually a confession.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
I think next time we're on this show, he'll be doing that.
The bruise on my arm where I smashed the can into my arm.
We had to delay today's recording because you had the Woodworm Man turn up.
The Woodworm Man is turned up. We've had Woodworm a couple of times. I'm just trying to get rid of it because the floors are important, turns out, and so I'm just trying to get on top of that. Really,
on the Man City game. Look. If I may wrestle this back.
No.
I liked that Emil Heskey's sons both came on. They're both forwards and they both come on at the same time. That was a great little flex.
Could not have been more. Emil Heskey's been on podcasts recently and he's really talking himself up, forgetting that we all used to watch him play.
What, his progeny? His progeny.
Yeah. Maybe he's trying to inspire his kids.
I interviewed Emil Heskey once and he was deeply dull but very nice.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That's a weird honk, wasn't it?
I wouldn't.
Jim's offended by that.
Jim's offended.
Say it like about Max Damon, but don't say it about Heskey.
No, exactly.
But on the game, Pete, can I just talk about the game very briefly? I know it's going to get in the way of our chat, but if I may,
fine.
There's a couple of things I wanted to say. One is that Phil Foden is bubbling up nicely. It's almost got to the point where maybe a while ago people might have. It's ridiculous to say about such a talented player, but people might start kind of wondering what he's up to and where he's got to.
Yeah, wasn't it last year?
Last year was a stop-start season for him. He seems to be building into his season sort of very nicely. I thought he was really good in the Champions League. He was good again last night. He's obviously started to appear slightly more regularly in the Premier League. So that was interesting to see him score early on in a way that I know it's against Huddersfield. They're not a top team, but the thing you look for with Foden is picking the ball up in those half spaces on the half turn and gliding. He's a real glider. He's quite a camp glider, but he's a glider nonetheless. And he was doing a lot of that last night. And the other thing I wanted to say was that Savinho's goal was brilliant because it was a great juxtaposition of a truly awful touch and then a sensational, which made him do a sensational finish. Like, the touch was so poor that he had no choice but to do something really good.
It's
and he
the
did
Brazil button, man. They all got it.
It was
smash the Brazil button. I mean, Huddersfield are, they're a relatively informed side. They're fifth in their league. I thought they look pretty tidy, but just Man City have just got so many bodies and really, really good bodies to throw at them. One body that had also took a gap year last year. Calvin Phillips, he came off the bench. It was his first Manchester City appearance in 645 days. That doesn't tell the whole story because he was elsewhere, but good to see him back and playing a bit of football. I know it was Huddersfield, I know it was the Carabao, but I really felt sorry for the way that his career kind of faltered the last couple of years.
Yeah, is it good to see him back though, or is it just a sad kind of reminder that he's actually there and didn't manage to get a move in the summer? Because if he, I suppose it's possible that he really sort of gets his head down in training and fights for a place and gets back in there. But he's, there's Rodri and Nico Gonzalez in there. Like it's very, very unlikely, I think, that he's going to do anything other than come on to close out games, to just waste a bit of time as a sub. And I think it's a shame that a player with that much talent didn't manage to find a move in the summer. And I think it's a bit of a surprising one, really, as well. Probably it's a wages thing.
Yeah, I mean, the wages are obviously a factor. But the problem is, though, he's gone on loan to West Ham and done nothing.
Yeah.
He's gone on loan to Ipswich and
wasn't great.
Okay, look, the situation is tricky. Ipswich have been relegated. I understand that. And he has played quite a lot more, I think, than he played for West Ham. But again, it's like, it's not as though he's done this thing where some players you see do where they go on loan somewhere and look really good somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of been a bit of an also-ran. And as you rightly point out, he's just not. There's just no way he's going to play for Man City. So if he wants to hoover up the wages and just do his thing, then I guess
Good on him.
Who are we to judge? Because that's his choice. It's his life. He obviously worked hard enough and played well enough to earn that contract. But I mean, he's 29 now. I don't really know, what his future looks like, because the thing about his contract at City is that I think he's still got another almost 3 years on it, right? Yeah. So he's in a bit of a hinterland.
That's a lot of money, isn't it?
It's a very wealthy hinterland.
Yeah, it is.
This bomb squad is quite nice, actually. Before the game, Pep Guardiola said that Manchester City sometimes have to park the bus because we are shit.
Yeah,
that's an interesting thing as well, because if we talk about this in the aftermath of the Man City game, of the Arsenal game, apologies, where Man City play in a way that I don't know if I've seen a Pep Guardiola team play before in that to that extent, right? Yeah. It does bring into question maybe some of the stuff I said earlier about Phil Foden, because is Phil Foden going to flourish in a setup like that? Yeah, probably not. I mean, you're looking at someone who needs the ball, who's desperate to pick up the ball in those spaces and drive forward and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's just a bit of self-deprecation from old Pepe G.
Yeah,
but
of course
it was weird for him to say it. I mean, obviously he is quite an eccentric man.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting when Guardiola made those comments, because among them he was talking about how people are saying he completely changed the style against Arsenal, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I completely changed the style in like 2 days. I must be a really good manager if I'm able to do that." And that sort of sarcasm doesn't work. It's like, yeah, you are one of the best managers of all time, Pep. So it kind of sounds a bit weird when you say that.
Yeah, he can't do Ange's material. That's not fair.
Foden's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I wonder if actually for him in particular, the lower expectations on Man City are going to help him thrive a little bit, because last season was strange for him, wasn't it? It seemed to, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of fatigue, or it's a bit of,
He spoke about off-field problems as well.
Yeah, so perhaps it's a little bit of that. I think, was it Jeremy Doku recently said that he takes criticism quite personally as well, so perhaps he struggled with that.
He's also got so many kids. I mean, he's must be knackered. I've got one kid, and I'm knackered all the time. And he's got to perform a really active, I know he's younger than us, but he's got to perform a really active, like, athletic job all the time. And I know he's probably got help, but 3 kids.
He's probably just spending too much time training, and he's overtraining, and he's hurting himself because he just wants to spend as much time away from the loudest house in the world, I imagine.
Maybe.
Are you projecting there?
A little bit, yeah. Just stop having sex, Phil.
You have a really emotional plea to us at work the other week where you said you just wanted to be able to go to the toilet on your own once.
Yeah, I just wanted to do a poo. I just wanted to do a poo alone. It
was in the aftermath of you of your daughter throwing something smashed on the floor and cut your foot open. while you were trying to take a shit.
Yeah.
Well, nowhere is safe.
Blood
is it?
through the bathroom.
Goodness.
Oh dear.
Is that why you used to go to a separate toilet to the rest of us in the last studio?
Toilet time is my time, Jim.
Yeah.
And it will be observed. For crying out loud.
Just saying the disabled toilet was not meant for you.
It's a good point, actually. Yes, City will be travelling to Swansea in the fourth round. Swansea,
what a treat.
Well, they did good work against Nottingham Forest, obviously, and their reward is playing an incredibly well-moneyed side in the shape of Manchester City. So hopefully there'll be no bus parking in that one. Newcastle United 4, Bradford City 1. Pretty sort of rudimentary and sort of relatively stylish performance from Newcastle United. Nice to see them scoring some goals, reminding Joe Linton and William Ossola where the net was, both scoring twice as Newcastle eased past Bradford City. Boyhood Newcastle fan Andy Cook scored a consolation goal for Bradford.
What a beauty it was as well.
It was an absolute peach, and you have to be pleased if you're a Newcastle United fan and you think that your career is never going to, get you into the Newcastle side. Scoring a smasher like that at St James's Park, look, you'd be cock-a-hoop, wouldn't you?
I mean, if I scored a goal like that at St James's Park, I'd be delighted.
I was happy just watching it.
Yeah, I think it is a really nice story. I mean, clearly he's from the area. He supported the side. He's never been anywhere near playing for them at the stage of his career that he's at now. That's just one for the scrapbook for sure. And the good thing is that we're mentioning it because otherwise it might have been forgotten about as a consolation. You get a lot of great forgotten goals in this sport, and hopefully Andy will obviously he will remember it for the rest of his life. The other takeaway for me. And it's worth mentioning, I think, because I think it's taken for granted that Newcastle fans are amazing in terms of their support for their team. 51,000 fans in the middle of the week at the prices that we have to pay these days to go and watch football for a home game against Bradford in the League Cup is extraordinary for me.
Well, they're defending the cup, right? So that's part of it, right? Surely
they respect the cup. They don't play children usually in these sides, and I think the way that Newcastle have started this season in the Premier League, certainly, I think this was a real chance to get just a little bit of form in there, just a little bit of confidence in front of goal, and they look pretty tidy against obviously a quite patchy Bradford City side. Newcastle will face Tottenham in the fourth round, who won 3-0 against Doncaster Rovers at home. Thomas Frank, you have to say he's had a bloody good time the first few matches in the dugout at Spurs.
He really has, and it's always satisfying to see anyone score an overhead kick, but particularly when that player is very long. I think very long players should be
Andy
attempting.
Carroll used to do one every now and again.
And
it was like
scoring
beautiful.
Overhead kicks all the time, and João Palhinha's delivered on that. Yeah,
he's having a great time. His second goal in a Tottenham shirt, and there's just so many players that could have done with a little bit of an arm around the shoulder and a little bit of improvement here and there. And look, just Thomas Frank just seems to be getting notes out of these players that you thought were just weren't doing very well last season under Ange.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends how you look at it. It's clearly a completely different setup to what came before. I think we are conveniently forgetting the fact that they totally piled in against Bournemouth at home. But then they've been good since then, and I guess Bournemouth have shown themselves to be a pretty good team. So, I mean, maybe we can't be too harsh on that, given how new he is in the job. But yeah, I mean, look, they're obviously the kind of shape they're in. They need to be going for one of these cups this season. They need to, because what I feel like is, and maybe this will be, slightly dealt with by the fact they've got a completely new manager. But the idea that because there's been such an outpouring of relief and emotion because they won a trophy for the first time in ages, you don't want them to relax into that and go, right, well, that monkey's off our back now, so now we're fine. What you want is you want them to go, right, how are we going to double down? What are we going to do next? What are we targeting? And Frank has clearly gone there because to be Thomas Frank about it, they are they're a bigger club than Brentford, and he wants to win things, and Spurs should want to continue to win things. I thought it was interesting last night. I thought it was interesting seeing Palhinha play a bit deeper. Kind of seemed like he was playing. I didn't watch the whole game, I'll be honest, but it seems like he was playing as a centre back at least for part of the game. And I also thought young Wilson Odobert was good as well. His work for the I think it was the first goal was really, really good. And he's someone who's an exciting young player who they brought in because he fits the profile of types of players they always wanted to sign. And he's not really properly got going yet. And And so it's interesting to see him do well as well. But yeah, I mean, business as usual for Spurs really against Doncaster at home. You expect them to win, and they did do that. You expect them to have a lot of the ball. They did. And that's that.
Another goal for Brennan Johnson as well, who is really, really reliable for them. Actually, I know there was a time where I think he was a little bit of a lightning rod when things were particularly bad last season. But he finished the season with a really, really good number of goals, and he's been really consistent. And he's a really good sort of rotation option for them as well. There's proper strength and depth there, which they've managed very quickly. Also, think Lucas Bergvall is very young at the moment. But when he sort of comes of age and he's a bit more experienced and he's a bit older, has perhaps filled out a bit more, he's going to be an absolute brute, isn't he? He is a tetchy player, and that's very fun.
Young at the moment sounds like a 60-year-old CEO trying to explain why he's sleeping with his secretary. She's young at the moment. She's not always going to be though.
Yeah.
So you can't have a go at me. Thank you.
I was young once, so we've got that in common.
Yet more production from the great Donaldson.
Exactly. Thomas Frank has said that Harry Kane is more than welcome back at Tottenham. He said a lot of fans, including myself, would like him back. I bet you would. I bet it's like Mark Almond's tweet. I bet you would, you dirty bollocks. I bet you'd love to see him striking fear into the hearts of Premier League defences. But he does have a clause in the contract that means he could leave Bayern Munich for 57 million next summer, but only if he announces his cruel intention to leave before the end of the winter transfer window. I could see that happening. I don't know why. I know he says that his family are very happy in Bavaria. His children are learning clearly more German than he is, and he's just, I could see him doing it, Jim.
But can that clause possibly be enforceable? But you can go to your old club, but you have to pop down to the town square and announce your intentions to betray us. Like that, surely that cannot possibly actually be enforceable.
You have to go down to the Christmas market, glute in hand, curryverse down your top, and announce to the town crier that you're going to be leaving Bayern Munich.
Yeah, do a little dance, your little dance of shame and betrayal.
That's not even the hard bit. You've then got to convince a team to pay 57 million for you at 33 years old.
Yeah,
Kane's probably got a lot of fuel left in the tank, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, is the clause specific to Spurs though? I think it might be.
We don't know. We don't care.
Let's just. He could be going anyway. Could be going to Portsmouth. Who knows? Yeah. But I just feel that he's proven everything he's going to prove out there. He feels a bit Kevin Keegan. Little adventure. Tell everyone that I'm great. Win the European Footballer of the Year, and then come home.
But he hasn't done any of those things, has he?
He's not won the European Footballer of the Year, but he's proven that he can do it elsewhere and do it really well.
European Footballer of the Year isn't even an award.
And he's won trophies. If somebody asked me 50 times what the European Footballer of the Year trophy is, I wouldn't be. You know what my memory's like. I would make something up. I'd get very confused, and I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what it is.
Also, presumably, the feeling is that he wants to have a good old tilt at the Champions League, win that, and then come back and break the Premier League individual scoring record. Right. So, if that's the case, perhaps it is more likely.
He should have joined Real Madrid.
It's probably that he's seen that Daniel Levy's out the door now. He's like, if I come back, we might get the reinforcements I was hoping for the whole time I was there before. He'll probably figure he's got enough left in the tank, because he does to me look like he's more like he could very well be a sort of Robert Lewandowski style striker, who just keeps going, scoring goals, and adapts his game if he has to. So possibly that'll be in his thinking, but I guess we'll see. We'll find out if he's down at the Christmas market, won't we?
He's probably going back and thinking, Levy's gone. That wage structure's just been smashed. I could absolutely, I could go back and have like a take-home wage without all of those add-ons that is commensurate with my skill base. All right, coming up after this, the Battle of the Trees.
Try not to annoy you this year. Not off to it's not off to a good start anyway, Ian, so cut the small talk, mate, and let's get on with it.
Jovial, aggressive.
Stop trying to be his mate, you fucking loser.
Welcome back to the Football Ramble.
How can he have made it any more clear that he doesn't want to be your friend? what is going on?
I want, mate.
Yeah.
I've got friends and family.
They are just confused by the word mate.
Yeah.
It's simple as that.
Yeah, they use the word mate too much. Yes, Anthony scored a late equaliser to share the points of the Battle of the Palm Trees versus the Tricky Trees. Real Betis 2, Nottingham Forest 2. Anthony's first goal for Betis since signing for the club permanently this summer. But I thought they looked really good for a long time, and it was a really competitive match away from home. And I was quite impressed by Nottingham Forest here, Luke.
Yeah, I thought they looked really good in patches. I thought it was a really good game, played at a nice tempo as well. And I'd be super excited if I was a Forest fan about Igor Jesus too, because he looked great. His 2 goals were really great strikers' goals. And I think what probably happened was, and I think Postecoglou might have even mentioned this in his post-match interview with the BBC, they kind of run out of steam. He said that humidity was a problem, it was hot, and all the rest of it, which, that you could probably maybe even say that's an excuse or whatever. But I actually think it probably wasn't an excuse, because Forest gave a really good account of themselves, and they only got pegged back quite late on. They also, I was super impressed with how they reacted to conceding first as well.
Yeah.
And so, we're quick to jump on Postecoglou for, I guess, all the obvious reasons. And I do think, as I've said before, he invites a lot of this on himself. But I think it's important that you're even-handed about it when you see stuff that you like. And I think for them to go to Betis, which is a tough place to go in those conditions, when you're inexperienced in European football, for a lot of those players, was decent. I thought Elliot Anderson again was really good.
Yeah,
and did his England credentials no harm whatsoever. And just going back to the Igor Jesus thing, it'll be fascinating to see over the course of this weekend coming up who starts for Forest up front, because Chris Wood's been there. He's been talismanic. He's been really important for Forest, as we all know, and he's rewarded that faith with scoring goals. Right. He's also scored a couple already this season. In the I think it was the opening game against Brentford, but he's not done an awful lot since then. And he's 33, and he's from New Zealand, and Postecoglou's Australian, and they are notably very, very disrespectful about their New Zealand cousins. So is Igor Jesus going to come in, given how impressive he's looked, since he's played for Forest, and obviously he had a pretty decent Club World Cup as well. I like him as a player, Jesus. I think he looks really good. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts actually this weekend when Forest play Sunderland at home. So, watch that space.
He's such a busy, kind of ruthless, kind of aggressive footballer. He's that Furuhashi type that obviously Ange has worked with before, and like you say, like Chris Wood is getting on a bit, and I think just by his very kind of you have to play a certain way when you're playing with Chris Wood, Jim.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see, as Luke says, if that's something that Ange Postecoglou is going to want to continue with. I think it's worth talking about where Igor Jesus has come from. He's come from Botafogo. They're not, it's not like the price is brilliant, but they're a huge deal, Botafogo, and he's a striker of a good age. If they get him from another European club, that he's probably, let's say he goes to a Porto or a Monaco first, as we've seen players make that route. He probably then. He certainly looks like he has the talent, at least, to then go on to be one of those players where their price just rockets up and up and up. I think it's a really brilliant bit of business.
I do as well. And I think, look at that game against Swansea. Okay, they lose the game, but they lose the game by ceding control of it in the second half. Igor Jesus started that game like an absolute train. He looked brilliant. He scored twice in the first half, came off at half time, and they lose the game. So the 2 games I think it is for Forest that he started last night and last week against Swansea, he scored 4 goals.
Yeah.
He looks really at it. And I think...
Demanding inclusion.
And also, totally, because especially given the fact that, Forest haven't really... I don't know if they haven't won for a while, and they haven't won under Postecoglou, as Pete said. So they've got to do something at some point. Since the opening day, it's been pretty thin gruel. So I think Jesus might, if not this weekend, he's going to start soon. Pretty sure of that.
Postecoglou will be playing his first game at the City Ground against Sunderland on Saturday, and I'm really eager to see what he's going to be doing in the European competitions as well, because I think this is a really, really good opener. Elsewhere, Marko Arnautovic equaliser denied Celtic a brilliant win away to Red Star Belgrade in the Europa League. He scored 16 years after his last UEFA Cup / Europa League goal, the longest gap between goals in the competition's history. Who even works that out? But I am enjoying it. I think we're probably positive on Celtic and a lot of things they do. But they nearly got it here, Jim. They nearly had it.
They did. And for me, it's not just that Arnautovic scored. It's that he scored and immediately squared up to a Celtic player with a little forehead kind of wrestle that they do. It's like, I've missed that, turns out. Yeah, I'm surprised to find how much I've missed Marko Arnautovic, a true Barclaysman. Obviously gutting for Celtic, but I suppose it's not the worst result away from home. Obviously, they had a lot of chances in the first half, and I think they will be kind of annoyed that they didn't put this away, but it's not the worst result.
Jim, just one you just spot on there, and I didn't see this game, so I'll defer to you on that for sure, because there was just so much football to watch. But what I would like to get on the back of that and say is that we're generally supportive of Celtic and all the things they do is a opinion of Pete Donaldson's and not the Football Rambles.
Yeah. Well,
why would you even say that?
Because I'm on and Marcus isn't, and we all know what flag he flies. Elsewhere
just imagine
in Europe,
someone like listening to the Ramble for the first time. We're generally supportive of Celtic and all the things they do.
You can host the show.
I don't want to.
I'll talk about your pantry. Before the start of the show, Luke, there's a door behind Luke, his back door, and producer Tom asked him to close his pantry door. Yeah. Where do you think Luke lives? Jim Ratcliffe was in attendance to watch Nice lose 2-1 at home to Roma. It's thrilling. It's exciting. It's Jim Ratcliffe time, Jim.
Yeah, you forget he's got another club who can ruin his day. But he's brought this on himself, hasn't he? He's very much brought this on himself.
I love the Instagram post about this, because The Athletic posted that Gianluca Mancini has doubled Roma's lead against Nice, and so Jim Ratcliffe looks on. The first comment is just some random bloke called King Gak, right? Just says, Sir Jim can't catch a break. Nice and Man United are giving him sleepless nights. It's like, Jim, you're a billionaire. Why are you putting yourself through this? King Gak is gutted for you.
King Gak's writing like he's like the like a newspaper sub-editor or something.
Yeah.
Like, why is he writing like that?
Doing a minute by minute on to Jim Ratcliffe's day.
Yeah.
Another bloke on there just looks like a teenage Instagram user. This bro's always taking L's.
Bro Jim. What
a leveller from the billionaire businessman.
Wow.
It's good stuff. I tell you what, if he fancies relaxing, he could go down to what is no doubt a well-stocked wine cellar and pick himself up a bottle of wine. Cole Palmer has withdrawn his plans to sell wine under the Cold Palmer name after backing down from a dispute with a French vineyard, Chateau Palmer. And it's now amended its intellectual property office documents, this Palmer's people, to head off any conflict. So no wine from the house, the Chateau of Cole Palmer. You simply must focus on the Chateau Palmer.
Yeah, I find this a curious thing, because
who's buying his wine? Who's buying it? It's like buying weapons off a toddler. They don't know.
Because if you really love Cole Palmer, I'm tempted to say you're unlikely to really love wine. But if you do love Cole Palmer and you do love wine, there's of course absolutely no way you're going to buy wine off Cole Palmer.
Yeah,
because you know what the two very different universes these things occupy.
Maybe he's like a mercurial talent at winemaking. Maybe he's just got that kind of, idiot's palate and just does the right thing.
Idiot's palate.
Pete, he has actually made it clear among all this that he doesn't really drink wine. Which is not surprising because he's a professional athlete. I'm also baffled by the combination of it. It feels like something someone else has pitched to him and he's just gone, yeah, all right, I suppose wine can be cold as well, can't it? I'm thinking, though, if Cole Palmer was to release an Alcopop, that would fly off the shelf. Get yourself an Alcopop farm or whatever they do.
This story is best summed up by The Sun, who've reported this, with their final line in the story itself, which simply says, Cole Palmer is not known to be a wine connoisseur. I mean, you just put that at the end of the story. Absolutely mugging him off.
It'll be like those, is it 18 Crimes, that kind of red wine? Just have Cole Palmer at the front. The only crime in here is the drink. 13 crimes, yeah. The only crime is this fucking wine. All right, well, coming after this, Infantino hosts his mates at Trump Tower. Welcome back to the Football Ramble. Trump Tower, it's a place where business gets done. You've got your Mar-a-Lago, you've got your Oval Office, but Infantino has been at Trump Tower on Tuesday. FIFA met to discuss the proposal to expand the Men's World Cup to 64 teams in 2030. No doubt they probably had to drop off a fair collection of trinkets and golden baubles for the President of the United States to sort of paddle around. But look, it just makes you excited to be alive as a football fan, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've got several thoughts on this. One of which instantly is that it's really curious to me how Gianni Infantino spends quite a large part of his public speaking role or ambassadorial role talking about how much he doesn't want politics involved in sport. And it's probably fair to say he's absolved himself of quite a lot of the responsibility when it comes to the political element of the sport, but he's perfectly happy to continually meet in Trump Tower and spend all this time in the Oval Office.
Well, they've got an office there, haven't they? FIFA have an office in Trump Tower.
It's an absolute disgrace. It is an unmitigated disgrace. And the other thing I would just say is that, without being too earnest about it for too long, is that this really is the effect of because FIFA are discussing a proposal to, as you said, to expand the Men's World Cup to 64 teams. Right? It's fucking ridiculous. It's completely stupid. It's a total non-starter for so many different reasons. But because of the fact that Donald Trump is so publicly able to be in a position of power, and that power to be unchecked in a king-like way, this of course indoctrinates all the other kind of horrendously problematic individuals who are in also positions of power to do the same thing. So now Infantino, it's no coincidence he's got an office in Trump Tower. It's no coincidence he wants to just go and do whatever he wants whenever he wants, because he sees this influence of the President of the United States behaving like a king and thinking, well, I can just do the same. It's just preposterous, and it really is sadly another example of the direction our world is going in at the moment. And it's just awful, I suppose. Yeah,
what I find interesting about Gianni Infantino is that he's making noises that suggest he's in favour of this idea based on the proposal put forward by the kind of South American contingent. And every one of his pronouncements make it sound like he thinks the only thing that anyone on the planet cares about is the World Cup. He presents this. He presents any idea of or any suggestion of change to the World Cup as if it's this real boon for humanity, which is really, really misguided. And what I find really sad about this proposal, right, is obviously a 64-team World Cup is gigantic and it's silly. The idea has been put forward because it will be, a centenary. And that is a really big thing in South America as well. It's something we don't really celebrate in the same way in Europe, but that you have to sort of understand the kind of cultural significance of that in South America, particularly given that the first World Cup was in Uruguay, right? And the sad thing is that I can certainly see a world where I would look at that and think, you know what, that's really exciting. But because FIFA have already expanded the next World Cup to 48 teams, which we assume will be permanent, because they've put the Club World Cup in place and not being satisfied with it being there at all, they're talking about expanding it, they're talking about making it every 2 years. I simply don't trust them enough to think that if they were to put in a 64-team World Cup in place and it were to be deemed a success by them, that they wouldn't then just make every World Cup like that. Because there is this idea that growth for growth's sake is universally positive and just more is better. Let's just have more, constantly more. And that's what everybody wants. Isn't this brilliant? Aren't we doing a great job? And it's a shame, because the idea of a sort of gigantic World Cup, if you could guarantee it was a one-off, might actually be really interesting, and it might actually be really, really exciting. But we don't live in a world where you can entertain it as that sort of idea.
Add a bit of context, of course, is that they want to do something special for the 100th anniversary, the centenary, right? And that's fine. I kind of understand that. But
give us a big mascot that's more interesting than the last mascots.
There we go. That's a nice place to start, Pete. And as Infantino himself has said, every idea is a good idea.
Mr. Blobby.
But what's important to reiterate, I think, is that they're not approaching it as saying they're saying that it's the centenary, so we have to do something really special. What they actually mean is we can make more money doing this, and the centenary is basically a fig leaf. Because it is worth remembering that the 48-team World Cup is going to involve 104 games in 5 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And the group stage is obviously heavily loaded, so there are going to be a preposterous amount of games in the opening weeks of the World Cup next year. It's going to be. I don't think people are ready for just the sheer amount of games there are going to be, and that's before you talk about expanding it again by another 30% or whatever it is.
And that's us talking. World Cups are quite good for us. It's good for business.
We love
good
it.
for Ramble business.
Yeah, it is.
And we're saying that. And we're saying it's a bad idea. So, yeah.
We'll be playing in it at this rate.
that lad who tried to become a US bloke who tried to go from 34-year-old, never played soccer before, to playing in a World Cup. He'll probably get his spot. Oh, dear.
It's almost like they're going to turn the World Cup into the Nations League by accident if they carry on with this.
Marcus's dream.
That's Marcus Speller's music.
Yeah, exactly. Gianni Infantino said every idea is a good idea, as you said, Luke.
What in the Stephen fucking Bartlett is that? Every idea is a good idea.
Oh, he'll be on Diary of the CEO before long, for sure.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
That would be a bit of a... I think it's more of a high-performance position for me. I think
maybe.
that would probably be something that Jake would...
either way, the outcome for me will be the same. I simply won't listen.
Won't listen, no. Yeah. Aston Villa, they're still searching for their first win of the season. Maybe they'll get it tonight at 8 p.m. when they play Bologna. Ezri Konsa has said Unai Emery was right to label his players lazy after their 1-1 draw with Sunderland. There you go, Sunderland, as you mentioned. We were lazy sometimes in defence. When we conceded, we were lazy. Lazy, Aston Villa. Less lazy, more crazy in the Europa League.
I've on the Sunderland criticism, because that speaks alluding to some people saying that we don't mention Sunderland enough and they were upset about it. I would say you have to look at my output in the round. My column, Any Winners, which comes out every Thursday, at anywinners.substack.com, has been very positive consistently about Sunderland, to the point where I've backed them in the betting part of the column to win on the opening day against West Ham, which they did, and I backed them again after that. You cannot accuse me of being anti-Sunderland. I am not anti-Sunderland. I am very, very anti-Jordan Henderson at Brentford, but I'm not anti-Sunderland. I think Aston Villa had a really tricky start. I wonder whether, as I said before, we're coming to the end of the line with Emery. You guys had some interesting things to say on the mailbag this week, which is worth a listen if people haven't tuned in yet. Few things have happened behind the scenes to change the hierarchy slightly, which may help. They've got to get up and running sooner or later. Bologna have had a kind of very inconsistent start to the season themselves. I think if there's time to get behind the team and get them cooking, it's probably going to be tonight against this Bologna side. At the moment, they look quite bereft of ideas, and I think quite bereft of chances. And tonight and the weekend is key for them, because they're at home to Fulham at the weekend as well, who are beatable for sure. So it'll be an interesting game to watch.
Yeah, I think this, as we sort of touched on the mailbag, this competition is a real opportunity to have a little bit of a break from the doldrums and sort of inject some urgency into the season. I also think Bologna are a team of a decent enough profile and size who are very beatable for them at Villa Park. This provides that opportunity. And Conce's comments are interesting because, he stands out as someone who's a leader in that team, and they have to take their medicine, right? Like, it's interesting that Emery's chosen this approach, because it's just really not been good enough across the board from them. And it's a surprising one. It doesn't feel like it can last, can it? But at the same time, they do look so flat that they feel like they are a potentially really interesting side story of this season.
And I'll tell you another team that'll have to get cracking. Rangers, a team that we are broadly in favour of everything they do. Russell Martin reportedly has 4 games left.
The BBC work that. That's
Russell
good.
Martin reportedly has 4 games. good guys on both sides. Russell Martin reportedly has 4 games left to prove himself to the Rangers hierarchy. Apparently Rangers will attack the Europa League. I mean, Russell Martin, it's just his whole... My childminder that looks after my daughter, her partner is about as Rangers as it possible to be, and I have started trying to avoid him, because
even though you're in favour broadly of everything he does,
even though I'm in favour of broadly everything they do, I've started avoiding him because it's just getting worse and worse and worse for that football team. And Russell Martin seems really bad at this. Luke, you're not a fan, I know that for a fact.
I mean, it's not been great, has it? I mean, the story you're referring to there is from Football Insider, who says that who've got a source at the club who says that Genk, Sturm Graz, Livingston, Falkirk are the big 4 games next for whether Russell Martin stays in his job or not. I would tentatively suggest that if you can't deliver an array of positive results from that lot, you probably don't deserve to be Rangers manager. But then nothing I've seen so far says that he deserves to be Rangers manager anyway. So, I mean, he's become really testy, and it's great. I saw a brilliant answer to a question he gave last week where, because obviously he took the players to Lomond, right, for a bit of team building. And I don't actually think there's anything wrong with that. Footballers are footballers, right? We can all be, snobby about it. And,
you love that
in our London metropolitan media elite kind of
way.
Pantries.
In our pantry, yeah. I stood in my pantry and I laughed at that story. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with I like a bit of cold water swimming, a bit of kind of doing your thing, fine. Yeah. And he got you could tell he was really actually quite upset that it got bad press. And he was asked a question about a game, and he responded with, "Oh well, we've been to Lomond for a swim now, haven't we? So everything will be fine," kind of thing, and kind of rolled his eyes. And I just thought, okay, I get that. I get that you're under pressure. I get that you found the last year and a half or so of your management career really, really tough. And sympathy should be there for that. But I mean, ultimately, you're at Rangers. You know the standards. You know what's expected of you. You've got to do what you've got to do. You've not done it. So you're paid pretty handsomely. If the time has come to turn it around, then the time has come. I've chatted to some Rangers fans. I was at a wedding a few weeks ago, and there's 3 or 4 Rangers fans there, a couple of which were on my table, and they were raging, absolutely raging. They were like, "You shouldn't even be in the job. He needs to win tomorrow." Well, that's it. And at that point, he didn't win that next game. So it's he's up against it, as he should be.
I would suggest that if you've got 4 games to save your job, when so far you've only managed 12 games, the writing probably is on the wall.
Yeah.
That's fair, yeah. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. God save the king.
On the Scottish football thing, by the way, I also read from Football Insider that Celtic are obviously trying to get Raheem Sterling, right?
Yes.
They're trying to get him on loan and all the rest of it. But apparently, it's just a reminder. I don't know why I'm sharing it. I just found it interesting. Raheem Sterling, who is, as you said earlier, Pete, as you referenced earlier, bomb squad, right?
Yeah.
Been to Arsenal, done nothing. Is not going to get anywhere near the team at Chelsea by the look of it at the moment. Not even training with the first team. 300 grand a week. Celtic can't get him because his wages are so high.
His remaining contract is worth about 30 million quid.
Bloody hell.
You just quite simply wouldn't walk away from that kind of cash.
No.
And why should he? Getting long for crying out loud. All right then, thank you for listening to the Football Ramble, part of the Acast Creator Network. All 3 of us will be back, keys in hand, with Marcus tomorrow for the preview show. Say goodbye, Luke.
Goodbye, Luke.
Say fare thee well, Jim.
Fare thee well, Jim.
We're off for a little bit of cheese in Luke's pantry. Ta-ta.